Welcome, friends, to my channel today, and we'll discuss future scenarios for Iran. As you know, protests have been happening in Iran. The main bazaar in Tehran has been closed for 11 days, and bazari merchants in many other cities have shut down, from Isfahan to Tabriz and Mashhad. But more concerning for the Iranian authorities is that people in small towns across Iran have come out in large numbers, and violence has followed. More violence has happened in areas where minorities exist. So the video which you just saw was of the Kurdish minority part, because their violence has happened on both sides. That is, the minorities have attacked the police, but the police have also brutally attacked back and killed a lot of the minorities. So death count and the number of arrests have gone into thousands, and the economic situation keeps deteriorating. As you know, I had given you numbers last time about how just in December, food inflation had been 42%. And over the last 1 year, it had been around 80%. In the last 6 months, currency had fallen by like 56%. But the latest numbers in the last 2-3 days are even more concerning. That is, the Iranian government has removed the foreign exchange subsidies for some essential goods. And so, for example, the price of eggs and gas has tripled in the last 2 days. And so the economy keeps sliding. And we'll discuss why this has happened. In the previous video also, I told you the process was both due to economic mismanagement as well as due to the US government. That is, the sanctions imposed thanks to Israeli pressure on the US and the Zionist lobby in the US and American conservatives had led to reimposition of the JCPOA sanctions in 2018. The JCPOA agreement had been annulled by President Trump in his first term, and that has led to the economic slide, which has further worsened since September, because the Europeans have also joined him back in the sanctions, the UN Security Council sanctions, what are called the snapback sanctions. So, coming to the main point, I'm going to show you 2 articles on the screen, and if you want, you can go read them yourself. But there is a lot of such data available. The first article right now on the screen is by Esfandiar Batman Khalij. He is an economist who closely looks at the Iranian economy, and he says that the main problem in Iran is not just the sanctions, but huge economic inequality. And this huge economic inequality has occurred because sanctions have distorted the economy, and the government has proved quite sclerotic in responding and has tried to mollify certain interest groups which have captured this economy. That is, as I explained last time, one of the interest groups is the IRGC, which controls a lot of the sanction groups. IRGC is the part of the Iranian army, which is the special elite corps loyal to the supreme leader and loyal to the government, which is corrupt also. And there are certain businessmen associated with it who are also capturing larger and larger shares. Some sons of big leaders are involved as well. So what is happening is that as the economic pie is shrinking because of sanctions, the elite are trying to capture more and more of this economic pie. And this is creating or worsening the situation even further. The second problem is that there is no economic plan to fix this. That is, even if you talk about the opposition, such as the Reza Shah Pahlavi or others, nobody is talking about economic redistribution, because they are supported by Iranian elites abroad who are rich and want low taxes, or by US Republicans, or because also this is a major factor, that harder the sanctions, the more impoverished the poor become in Iran, the more likely it is that they will come out on the streets. So in a way, in order to encourage protests, harsher and harsher sanctions are being imposed by Israel and the US on Iran, by the Zionist lobby and by the Americans, because they want the poor to come out, and therefore the poor are getting more and more impoverished, and the Iranian elite are supporting this, those who are abroad. I'm talking about those who encourage revolution. So the government also, the current Iranian regime, does not have a solution. It's not able to reform itself, become too old and sclerotic, and too many vested interests. The second very interesting article is by Saeed Lailas, and he's one of the best economists in Iran today. And he believes that it is more due to economic mismanagement and corruption than due to sanctions. And he says that there is really a massive amount of subsidies which are lost. Bazaris don't bring back money back into the country. They keep their money abroad. Many of these big businessmen, exporters, they don't bring back the USD. He believes that a lot of the subsidies are targeted. For example, Iranian government gives huge subsidies on gas and oil to the public at 1% of their manufacturing cost times. That is, it could earn much more money by exporting these to Turkey, Pakistan, the neighboring Iraq. But there's massive mismanagement, and he believes that Iran is actually moving towards bonapartism. That is, Iran is moving towards a strongman rule. This is very disturbing because he says that the regime won't collapse, but instead, over the next 1 or 2 months, you may see that either Khamenei will willingly, that is, the leadership will willingly cede power to one strongman, or one strongman will just emerge. And this doesn't matter whether Khamenei lives or dies. It doesn't matter whether Iran is able to go through these current, the Iranian regime is able to go through these current disturbances or not. But he believes this is the inevitable end game, because he says that in every revolution, as things start going sour, if there is no option, that is, there is no credible opposition around which you can organize, then usually a strong man emerges. And he says you can look at the countries around, whether it is Egypt, whether it is Saudi Arabia, everywhere strong men have emerged, and even in Pakistan now, or you can look at even populist countries like India or Turkey. And he says this strongman will actually be given power even by the current leadership. They will cede power to him willingly. Why? Because they themselves are bankrupt. They don't have solutions. And having a strong man kind of makes centralization of decision making and executive power much smoother. And decisions can be taken. Right now, the government seems to be paralyzed. It's not able to reform itself. Even after the bombings done by Israel for 12 days in June, the central bank, the Ministry of Finance, nobody could change their behavior. They continued in the same old fashion, despite the fact that the people were loyal. Most people were nationalistic and did not rebel, even though they were unhappy. So he believes the government is not going to fall. And this is what the view of many analysts also is, that look, large segments of the people and the army are still with the government. That is, the rural populations, the more Islamic, poorer people, and also parts of the army, IRGC, as I said, because they're very well paid compared to the others. They're generally loyal. Basij, the paramilitary militia of the IRGC, which is helping to quell these protests, as they have quelled previous protests with a lot of bloodshed. So these continue to remain loyal, and hence the regime has staying power. But what's going to happen is that the supreme leader is himself 86 years old and has been in power for like some 36 years. So he is most likely to cede power, and a strong man will emerge. And we can see the example of what has happened in the past. I mean, for example, the name itself comes from Napoleon Bonaparte, for this bonapartism. And he emerges because of the chaos of the French Revolution, because the regular civil government collapses and the economic situation is very bad in revolutionary France. And so a strong man from the military emerges and takes over, and that's Napoleon Bonaparte for you. So this has happened many times in the past, and you've seen it happen in Syria when Hafez al-Assad emerged after many, many coups, and we have seen it in, for example, in Egypt, where Nasser and then others emerged because of, again, the same weakness in government. And it has happened in Indonesia when Suharto emerged, etc. So most likely the strongman should emerge from within the military establishments, but could be anybody. And according to these people, the government may not collapse right now. I would take that as a 50-50. The way the protests are spreading every day and increasing in scope, and even poorer people are joining because their lives are full of hardship, and because there seems to be no way out of it. What do I mean by no way out of it? Is that Khamenei or the rest of the leadership also is not willing to compromise on the nuclear issue. That is the only way to get out of this economic situation, is to get the sanctions removed. To get the sanctions removed, you have to accept all the conditions that the United States and Israel have imposed. Why I keep mentioning Israel is that American policy is almost entirely controlled by Israel, by the Zionists. And even this policy that emerged recently was after close consultation with Netanyahu. So the Iranian regime is not willing to compromise, because the compromise requires that inspectors go into every corner of your country, quite a lot of humiliation, take out every gram of enriched uranium. And then if Iran needs any uranium for its nuclear power plants, which is at a much lower refinement, they will be provided exactly that amount. So basically, the country will have kind of surrendered completely its autonomy. Not just Khamenei, but maybe even the Bonaparte who takes over will not be able to do this. And it will be too humiliating for anybody within the government to do this. And so there is no way out of this economic scenario, this economic crisis. So I believe that it's possible that a collapse also is possible if this continues this way. But within the next month or two, you will see some change, either a kind of collapse or a takeover by a strong man. So keep paying attention and subscribe to my channel for further insights. Thank you.